Good morning, everybody. A bit like yourself, Jay, I'm live from Adobe's offices in Shoreditch today as well. So we've made the trip down to London and presenting live from Adobe HQ. Thanks everyone for being here today. It's nearly the end of the summer. It's only a few days left now until the kids go back to school, and one I can't wait for in particular. But no, thanks everyone for all our academia customers and particularly members of the Charities Buying Group that are with us here today. We aim to take up about 30 minutes of your time today. But first, I suppose I better introduce myself. My name is Dan Hodson. I head up our software portfolio here at Academia. I've been with the business now for about 15 years, and Adobe's been a major key partner of us over this time. In fact, we've even got to a point now where Academia are about to say that if not the largest, we are the largest Adobe education reseller throughout EMEA. So a title that we're very proud of. Academia has grown strength to strength over those 15 years. And George, if you just move to the next slide, please. Sorry. We've just finished the end of our financial year at the end of July, and we've just tipped that nearly £150 million revenue. So absolutely substantial and huge growth over that time. In fact, in November last year, Academia was actually awarded the Reseller of the Year by CRN in the sub £200 million reseller category. Again, another fantastic accolade that we're extremely proud of, and just shows testament to all the hard work here at the Academia team. Today, we are joined by some of the guys and team from Adobe, so thank you very much. We have Graham Trick in the room from the Adobe Education team, and then we also have Jay Epton, who's going to be sharing some slides on Adobe and some of the new features within the application. So I'm going to stop talking. You've heard enough from me this morning, and George, if you can move over to the next slides, and I will introduce Jay to the room this morning. Thank you very much, sir. Jay, over to yourself. Thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Dan, and good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to be able to present to you today. Just a bit of background on me. I'm going to be talking a little bit about Adobe Acrobat, Adobe Acrobat AI Assistant, Adobe Sign, but also talking a little bit about Microsoft as well. And I think what's intriguing is not only can I give you a perspective of Adobe and the Adobe technology, but also I was very fortunate enough to work at Microsoft for 6 years, leading the Adobe channel, Microsoft channel. That's how long I've been gone. And in essence, I think I'm in a very fortuitous position to be able to talk about not just the Adobe technology, but also its relevance to your Microsoft environment as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I've been in the IT industry for over 30 years, worked at a number of different organizations, Microsoft being one, Oracle, Symantec, Veritas. So I've got a wide range of experience, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of that with you today. Next slide, please, Georgie. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about Adobe Acrobat AI Assistant, but we'll also talk a little bit about Adobe as an organization. I think what's intriguing is that whenever I speak to friends or colleagues or anybody that's new joining into Adobe, or even some of our customers and partners, I think Adobe is a brand that everybody knows, but actually when you think about all of the different technology areas that we offer, it's very difficult to understand where they sit and what they mean to your business. And I think the best way of thinking about Adobe is that we come with 3 different main areas. One is around creativity. So this is all around content creation, whether it's advertising, billboards, thinking about emails, thinking about TikToks, thinking about Instagram, thinking about social media. So thinking about your brand and a way that you want to communicate and liaise with your employees, with your maybe students, or indeed with your customers. But the idea being is that creativity is a way for you to be able to do that. And the technology that we offer as Adobe allows you as an organization to really drive that creativity yourselves with little or no creative technology experience. You know, the products and the solutions are very intuitive. We then have productivity, which is the area that I'm focused on today, and we'll talk a bit more about that. But it's all around how can we make you more productive? How can we drive workflow, automate document creation? How do we help you drive maybe digital signatures within your business in a very prompt and optimized way? And that's productivity. And obviously, that's very much related to the Microsoft Modern Workplace strategy. And then finally is around our digital or DX business, digital experience business, which is all around, as an example, if you went onto ASOS, bought a white shirt, you might see at the bottom of the web page, customers that bought this shirt also bought these other clothing items from us as well. That is actually Adobe platform technology that drives that. So hopefully it gives you a bit more of a real world experience of Adobe in your everyday lives. Next slide, please, Georgie. And so let's talk a little bit about the Microsoft and the Adobe partnership. And the reason why this is absolutely imperative and important for you to understand is that there is a lot of value that if you own something from Microsoft, which most of you will do, and you own something from Adobe, which hopefully a lot of you will do, then actually there's some out-of-the-box integration that comes from the Microsoft and the Adobe partnership. Now, the reason why this partnership is so unique is that when I think about whether I was at Symantec, or indeed even at Oracle, they had also a relationship with Microsoft. But that relationship is all around the fact that Microsoft offers an open API standard, which any technology vendor can integrate their technology with Microsoft. So as an example, I might be a backup vendor like Veritas. I might be backing up data in your environment today, but you might want to take that backup data and put it into Azure. So Microsoft offers an API for me as Veritas to create that integration to be able to automatically place it into Azure. Now, realistically, Microsoft haven't proactively invested in that partnership. They've offered the APIs, they've allowed that ISV or that vendor like Veritas to create that integration, but that's it. This partnership is very different. And the reason it's different is because Microsoft is investing $1 billion in Adobe to help drive integration between our two technology areas. And you might say, well, what's in it for Microsoft? Microsoft want more customers to use Teams. They want to improve and enhance that experience. And so by embedding Adobe Acrobat, Adobe Sign into that platform, it allows you as a customer to get a lot more out of your Teams environment, which we'll come back to. But also for Adobe, it's important because, PDF and PDF creation seems very commodity based. You think that all PDF viewers are the same, creation tools are the same. They're not. But also more importantly is around digital signature. I can think of one major digital signature provider that's been around for 20 or 30 years. Everybody uses them. It's very web browser based. It's not very intuitive. And so for Adobe, if we can find ways of embedding that digital signature journey within Microsoft Teams as an example, then it enhances the way that you deal with paperless contracting and contracts and paperwork. So again, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Next slide, please, Georgie. Doing very well with the clicking, by the way, Georgie, so thank you very much. And if you want to click this one out 3 times for me. So the main thing for me is that we have a shared vision with Microsoft. And the idea being is that we have the integration within the technologies. And it's not just a point in time integration. So it means that as Adobe and Microsoft release new technologies, whether that's the latest version of Teams, whether that's the latest version of Acrobat, then that integration consistently happens even in the early days of those technologies being released. We have a shared application ecosystem. So what that means is, as I mentioned, if you have an Adobe license, you automatically get that integration free of charge. You can switch it on right now. And I'm going to show you that in the next couple of slides on how easy it is to be able to do that. The point is that if you're using Microsoft Teams, you're looking to create and share PDF documents, or you're looking to create and share digital signature and contracting, you never need to leave Teams to be able to do those functions. So normally it would take a lot of minimizing and maximizing, and you can quite easily get distracted from that workflow. Whereas the nice thing is that because the products are aligned and integrated with each other, it's seamless in terms of your everyday operation. I'm going to talk about Microsoft approvals a little bit later, but we also include something called LiveSign. And LiveSign is the ability, as an example, 2 I can think of. One is public sector, thinking about policing, and it's that ability for police to be able to take low impact crime statements. So taking a witness statement, somebody broke into my car, they stole my laptop, I just need a crime number. So now the police are using LiveSign as a way of being able to do those interviews without using petrol and paper. Also for banking, so we're seeing a lot of banks now using LiveSign as a way of actually interacting with somebody that wants to borrow some money and be able to close and create that sale of that loan and be able to sign that contract in the conversation in that Teams call with that customer straight away. Again, saving probably 2 weeks of processing of prospecting, and also thinking about paper, postage, and petrol as well. And we automatically have integration with Power Automate, which means that you can auto-generate documents, and I'll talk about that in the next slide. So the middle column of this slide is all around the user experience. The right-hand column of this slide is all around the IT experience. So if you're an IT organization and you're using Microsoft as your standard for security, for management, for deployment, then the nice thing is that you can deploy Adobe Acrobat and Adobe Sign using the Microsoft 365 admin console. It automatically snaps in to your security credentials. So if you're using Azure Active Directory and whatever you're using for single sign-on and multi-factor authentication, the great news is that Adobe pretty much adheres to this setup that you've got and auto integrates. So from an IT perspective, it really does help. Adobe Sign, as an example, is a web-based or a cloud-based application. We offer that within the Azure environment. So it means that if you're creating any applications or workflows, because it's running in Azure, then it basically means that there's no latency or delays in terms of the way that the application operates. And along the bottom is all around the impact for you as a customer or as a partner in terms of global and carbon footprint, but also thinking about how you can digitize and automate and not only become more sustainable, but thinking about how you can be more optimized, cost savings, and also competitive if that's relevant to your industry. Next slide, please, Georgie. And so this next slide is all around, I think about my 30 years in IT, and I think about mail merge. And when I started out in sales many, many years ago, I used to think about how I would take a customer contact database and put that into a spreadsheet. I would create my my Word template. So I might, dear customer, insert customer name, a couple of brief details about what maybe the technology I was talking about. And then obviously at the top, it would have the customer's name, address, maybe even their customer number or something similar. But the point is that mail merge, if you like, was around 20, 30 years ago, and we used to use that for automation. We're thinking now this slide is more around digital mail merge. So the idea being is that you could still create a document in Word. You could then still take the digital signature within Adobe Sign, and you could take the name and address from all of your employees out of Workday and auto generate a contract, maybe a new contract of employment as an example. So the point is that you can auto generate documents, you can send them to the recipients. Once those recipients have signed those documents, then you can even create tickets within ServiceNow. You can place information in Oracle or something similar. And the reason we're able to do this is because within Adobe Sign, as an example, we include the Power Automate Premium Connector license, which basically means that you can auto deposit or take information from third-party applications, create documents, create actions, and create workflows. So hopefully I've done that justice. But I think of my old school mail merge days and thinking about how that's still a requirement in businesses today. Next slide, please, Georgie. So without me saying you're not transforming or you're not digitizing, I think it's fair to say, and even at Adobe, we're still going through some of these challenges ourselves. Every organization has paper, has postage, has print, and has process. And therefore, the partnership with Microsoft and Adobe is all around how can we help you take those paper and manual-based processes. It's less about COVID and more around hybrid working. And how do we optimize and help you bring those environments together? I know of one particular public sector organization that actually sends wage slips every month via print and paper. And it was costing them £1 million a year with all of those various costs involved. And we were able to work with the Microsoft and the Adobe partnership with that customer and a partner of ours. And we were able to bring that to life so that the customer found savings of over £900,000. And so they're the kind of things that you need to be thinking about in terms of how can I bring my technology environment together, not just from a employee experience perspective, but also how can I reduce cost and process within my business as well. Next slide, please, Georgie. And so I want to try and give you a sense, and actually if you click it 3 more times, Georgie, for me, what I want you to think about is most people are at stage 1 of the document maturity curve. What I mean by that is we use Microsoft Word, we use Microsoft Teams, and we use Adobe Acrobat, but we don't find a way of bringing these applications together. So stage 2 is really about, can you embed Adobe Acrobat and Adobe Sign within your Teams environment? Stage 3 is where you might start to look at using Power Automate to be able to drive some kind of auto generation of documents, or to set off a ticket in ServiceNow once a signed contract has been received. And then the 4th one is more around, actually you can embed Adobe Acrobat and Adobe Sign within Dynamics 365. Now look, this is very Microsoft focused, but this would apply to Salesforce, to Workday, to ServiceNow. So you hopefully get a sense, like I've made this very Microsoft focused, but actually it's about, could you embed Adobe Acrobat and Adobe Sign within your environment? And obviously, if you need more information and help around that, academia for sure can help you, guide you through this journey as well. Next slide, please, Georgie. So what I'm going to take, just as a quick example, I'm going into my Microsoft Word. I'm going into Insert Office Add-ins. I'm typing in Adobe. You can see that at the top, Adobe Sign is being shown. If you do another click for me, Georgie, I'm going to accept the terms and conditions, which is what I'm going to do there. And then if you notice the ribbon along the top of my Microsoft Word, the last couple of icons are based on equation and advanced symbol. Next click, please, Georgie. And what you can see is the moment that we've accepted the terms and conditions, the ribbon has changed so that now any document that I create in Microsoft Word can be saved and shared as an Adobe PDF. And by the way, the Adobe PDF standards, nobody else can meet. So not even Microsoft can do them themselves. So the nice thing is that if you want to send secure documents that can't be edited, that maybe need to be password protected, or thinking about digital contracting, which Microsoft definitely can't do, then the nice thing is that you can do all of that within your Word environment. And just by taking or clicking on the fill and sign or send for signature icon and clicking on your Word document, that makes that contract legally binding. It's recognized in courts of law in the UK, in Europe, and in the US. So it's as good as signing with wet ink on a normal paper contract. And another click, please, Georgie. And the nice thing is I don't even need to go into Outlook. If I wanted to send this Word document to a customer or to an employee, I could type in their email and type in the message and even automatically send that from Word. I don't even need to go into Outlook to actually create an email, attach the PDF, and then send the document to a customer. Another click, please. So when we think about even Microsoft Teams, so I've done Word, which is very basic. Thinking about Microsoft Teams, this is my Microsoft Teams environment. You can see my face in the top right-hand corner. You can see all of the icons down the navigation bar on the left-hand side. If you do a couple of clicks, let's say 3 clicks, Georgie, what you can see is we've got Adobe Acrobat, Adobe Sign. You can see that it's easy to install from the application store within Teams. Even if you click on your Teams environment today, you can search for Adobe Acrobat. You can download a free Adobe Acrobat reader, so you won't be able to create PDFs and edit them, but it will save you some time in terms of viewing PDF documents. Another click, please, Georgie. And I mentioned Microsoft approvals earlier in the slides. And Microsoft approvals is where normally with digital signature, it's email based. And if your email folder, email inbox, is busy, or maybe you've got an aggressive junk folder, then digital signature workflows can actually be held up, whether it's because you're too busy, whether it's because your junk folder's obviously siphoned it away somewhere else so you weren't aware. The great news is that with the integration between Microsoft and Adobe, we're able to put a notification within the activity bar within your Teams environment, which says you have a contract to sign. You could sign it right away within Teams, which obviously makes it easier for you to sign, but also make sure that you get the prompt, whether it's on email and or on Microsoft Teams. Next click, please. And what you'll see here is the Adobe Sign application within Microsoft Teams. If you do 3 clicks for me, please, Georgie. And what you can see is we can see which documents we've sent. We can see where they are in their real-time status. And we can also set reminders. So you can set reminders for monthly, for weekly, for daily, or if it's really urgent, you can do it hourly as well. So the nice thing is that not only are you automating the way that contracts are being created and delivered, but also you can use technology as a way of making sure that they're signed in a timely manner as well. Next click, please, Georgie. And even on your mobile device, you can see this is my Microsoft Teams environment, and you can see that Adobe Sign is integrated within Teams, as would be Adobe Acrobat. Next click, please, Georgie. And Georgie, still doing a great job. Thank you very much. So this is Adobe Acrobat within Microsoft Teams. And actually what I wanted to highlight on this slide is that you can see that we have the AI Assistant available. And I know that for me, with the release of Copilot from Microsoft, but also with the AI Assistant from Adobe on the Acrobat platform, there's a bit of confusion of, do you need both? Do you need one or the other? And my answer would be that you would have both, okay? And the reason being is because Copilot is all around your productivity and workflow. It's all around, you know, helping you maybe take some actions from a Teams call. It's around helping you create certain emails and responses. The AI Assistant is all around review of information within an Adobe Acrobat document. So if that is a contract, the AI Assistant can help you identify certain bullet points within the contract. It can give you a summary. It can give you a conversation, if you will, you know, almost like, what is this contract about? What are the top 5 most important points about this contract? What is the indemnity that is insured if I take out this contract? Something similar, right? So the point is that the AI Assistant is very much Acrobat focused. And it's all around helping you that if you're using contracts on a day-to-day, so if you work in purchasing, in finance, in supplier management, thinking about, you know, even just review, you know, legal, thinking about contracts and documents, it's just a quicker way to be able to do more with AI. Next click, please, Georgie. And so that brings us on to a nice timely overview of the AI Assistant. And let's talk a little bit more about what that is, right? And Adobe haven't just started this journey with AI. We actually started with AI you know, quite a few years ago, and we had a technology called Sensei, still available today. And Sensei was all around, how do you take PDF documents, make them indexable, if that's the word, and are basically allowing you to be able to search and unlock information. We used AI for that. We also use AI for accessibility. So Adobe Acrobat and Adobe Sign offer a wide range of accessibility features, not only as standalone products, but also within the Teams environment. And we use AI to do something called liquid mode. And liquid mode is that if you wanted to zoom in on a touchscreen device, whether that's a Surface device, whether that's an Apple iPhone, the idea being is that when you zoom in, the AI will basically reconstruct that page to make sure that you get maximum viewing capability. So there's no pixelation, there's no loss of wording or formatting, and we use AI to do that. So the AI Assistant actually is just another chapter for us in 2024. And as you know, PDFs are used everywhere in every organization. Even our biggest competitors use PDF as a standard to be able to share information. Next click, please, Georgie. And so one of the concerns around AI is, is it going to have the impact on my organization? And B, are my users actually going to use it? And the great news is that for me, since the launch of the AI Assistant from the middle of May, even though it's been a relatively, holiday period, we've seen a lot of people being away on vacation, etc. The usage of the AI Assistant within Acrobat has astronomically grown for Adobe. So we've seen a lot of customers embracing it. What you're seeing on the video, if you will, on this animation on the screen, it just shows you how you can type into the AI Assistant a question, a query. It's even suggesting some of the questions that I might want to ask. So again, the AI Assistant really drives that. And with all due respect, my mum could open up the AI Assistant and actually use and navigate it in the right way. Click on the next slide, please, Georgie. And so even when and you can click it twice more, please, Georgie, even if you're using the AI Assistant within Acrobat, which is great, you can use it within Teams. We talked about that already. But also, even if you're using your web browser, if you're deciding to open up a document that's available on the web, you might want a summary of what that document is about, okay? And you can see that on the left-hand side. I even took some screenshots that the AI Assistant works on Acrobat on your mobile device. So if I'm on the way to a meeting, maybe it's a last-minute request, somebody's asked me to represent the organization, I need to understand what that contract negotiation is about, or maybe what that presentation is about. I can use the AI Assistant to give me the key points within that document. On the right-hand side, you can even see where I've asked for the top 5 points of the contract. Not only does it give me the top 5 points, but I could click on those numbers, on those annotations, and it would take me to the place of the contract if I wanted to read it in a bit more detail. So again, it's not just about the processing of information and presenting it back, but it's also being able to point back to that information and to be able to show it and share it as well. Next click, please, Georgie. And so I don't want you to think of the AI assistant just as productivity. And I mentioned Adobe being around creativity and productivity at the same time. Stage one and the initial launch of the AI assistant is focused on productivity, and that's what you've just seen an example of. I would say in the next 12 to 18 months, you will see the ability for you to not only create a contract, but you may want to use the AI assistant to help you create brochures and other materials that may well be more marketing based, still require the standards and the brands and the productivity that your organization is using, but you might want to introduce imagery. And I'm being told that Gen Z in the future, when they receive a contract, they don't just want a text-based contract. They would like a contract with maybe a representation of what they're signing. So as an example, for a house sale, you might obviously want the normal contract of sale for a house, but wouldn't it be great if you could have the plans and the pictures of the house that came from Rightmove as an example? And that's the kind of thing that we're going to see the AI assistant with the ability to do, is not only help improve the way that you are productive, but also help you create documentation on the fly that would also insert imagery. And we'll also include Adobe Firefly and Adobe Express. So as an example, Firefly is our generative AI. So I could say, show me a picture of a dog with a cowboy hat on, and Firefly could auto generate different forms of dogs, different types of dogs with different types of hats. And as a user, I can click on which one would be the most relevant. Again, just saving that time for creativity and productivity. And then ultimately, long term in the future, we see the AI assistant helping you to be able to not only create certain standards of documents, accessibility and security as a standard, but also thinking about ways that you can collaboratively share the production of materials and making sure that each individual within the organization can help support and analyze and give feedback and obviously resolve that moving forward. So as I say, don't think of AI assistant as just productivity, even though to my mind today, that's its most improved impact. Next slide, please. And so the other concern around AI is, is my data safe? Am I really going to, process some of my most sensitive customer data on contracts and actually let that go out into the ether and allow the internet to have access to that? And the answer is we don't publish any of your information. We do not train any language models. You have the ability to control how long that information is retained. Now, obviously, if you've got multiple people using the same document, looking at analysis, then the reality is that we will retain that information to also serve that back out. But you can make an option to say, look, I want you to keep this data for 8 hours only, and then we will remove it. So the idea being is that, number one, you're in control of your data. You're in control of how long it's retained for. That retention, by the way, is encrypted. So it's not like any employee from Adobe could access any of that information or view any of that information. We have the use of the Azure AI standards, which basically means that we support ethical AI. And what that means is if somebody was using their AI assistant for untoward manner, so maybe inappropriate words, inappropriate images, then the AI assistant will flag that to the administrator of your organization. But we only do that using algorithms. We wouldn't be able to tell you what that information is and a bit more detail, but at least it would give you a sense of what that looked like. So hopefully that gives you a sense. Security, your information is your information. We can process the information and retain that for a certain period of time, obviously for productivity gains, but most importantly is we can obviously remove that information, as I say, as little as 8 hours if we need to. Next slide, please, Georgie. And I think we're on the final slide, so we can click it 3 times. And all I would say is thank you very much for your time today. Hopefully I've given you a sense of the Microsoft partnership. I've given you a sense of the AI assistant within the Microsoft environment and the relevance to that around Copilot, but also most importantly is around AI assistant and the productivity gains that you've had. And all I would say is if you take nothing else from today's call, even if you're using an Acrobat and you're using Adobe Sign today and you're using Microsoft, switch those technologies on, get them to integrate free of charge. That would be my recommendation. Get yourself to stage 2. If you have challenges of time, resources within your organization, and you're looking for ways to automate and optimize, then think about stage 3. But as I say, the guys from academia here can certainly help you do that. But over to you, Daniel.
That's brilliant, Jay. Thank you very much for that excellent presentation. And there's a few things that you've suggested today that I've learned as well today. So thank you very much. We've got a couple of minutes left, and I'll ask that anyone with questions for either Graham, Jay, or myself, please do write them in the chat. But whilst you write those questions, just wanted to make everyone aware on the call of one major Acrobat announcement that's recently come out from Adobe, and that's the end of perpetual licenses. So all the cool features that Jay's spoken about today around integrations with Microsoft, the Adobe Sign functionality, some of the AI tools as well, none of these currently reside within the Adobe Acrobat perpetual license. So within a couple of months, the ability to purchase Acrobat Perpetual will cease. And then in about another 12 months, the support for the Acrobat version will end as well. So it really is important that if you are still using Adobe Acrobat Perpetual licenses, that you please work with the academia team to help you move to a subscription model. If you're unsure of whether or not there was perpetual licenses in your estate, again, this is another area that academia can help out with. Please speak to your account manager team or reach out to myself, and we can help you with what's called a consumption report, so we can give you a map of what Adobe licenses are within your estates. Again, ensuring that your software is always maintained for security purposes, but then also you're able to take advantage of those cool features that Jay has just gone through today as well.